Andrians, good evening. Thank you very much for having me here this evening. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here back home. That's what I call this place. It's a wonderful place, and you know, I've heard so many great things tonight about people thanking their parents, and I want to say the same thing. Andrians come in all shapes and sizes and forms, and really everyone in here is an Andrian. You don't have to be an old boy to be an Andrian. You are an Andrian if you're associated with St. Andrews. And I would like to thank the parents who are here this evening for giving St. Andrews to their sons, because now we have more Andrians and more old boys. I'd like to thank the staff and the headmaster and all the people who support the school, because they helped to build the school, and that's why we're all here. And in fact, it's more than a school. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. My parents, I went to St. George's College in Toronto, and essentially, at the end of my career in St. George's was my first year in grade 9, and my second year in grade 9 was at St. Andrews. I came here to repeat grade 9 because I wasn't doing too well in grade 9 at St. George's. So when I arrived here, Mr. McPherson was the assistant headmaster at the time, and he said, "What do you hope to achieve?" And I said, "Well, I hope to pass, sir." And yeah, and he said, "You'd better hope for more than that. This is St. Andrews." And he was right. And that never left me, that thought. And I had 5 wonderful years here, but I was reminded of this 5 wonderful years of my life a few months ago, because I was up here for the cadet inspection, which I love. I love the cadet inspection. And I ran into an old friend of mine, Vic Goldman. Now, some of you know Vic Goldman. Raise your hand if you know Vic Goldman. Good, we're talking about the same lad. Okay. Vic was a sergeant major when I joined the 48th Highlanders as a private while I was at St. Andrews as a cadet lieutenant colonel, which is a pretty neat trick, you have to admit. And the day after I graduated from St. Andrews, which was June 9th, 1978, on June 10th at 0600 hours, I was in the rifle range at Niagara-on-the-Lake, getting ready to take part in a rifle shooting competition with other regiments in Toronto. And Vic said to me, "Oh, so you finally left St. Andrews, you graduated from that place." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Tell me about it." I said, "Well, honestly, sir, I don't think I'll ever have 5 straight wonderful years like that again in my entire life. I'll have better years and worse years, but 5 years in a row that were that fantastic, I don't think it'll happen." And I believed that for many years. And I ran into Vic at this parade just last month, and he said, "Hey John, remember when we were down Niagara at the Lake on June 10th, 1978? And I said, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And he said, "Well, how's it been?" I said, "Yeah, every year I've had a great year or a bad year, but I've never had 5 wonderful years like I had at St. Andrews." And then I thought about it over the last few weeks, and I realized I was dead wrong. I was completely wrong. I was wrong because St. Andrews in its own way has been such a big part of my life, at times in ways I never really knew, until somebody raised it to my consciousness afterwards and said, "How come you got along so well with all those different people from all those different countries in one place trying to negotiate a deal?" I said, "Well, actually, I went to a place called St. Andrews College, and we had guys there from 26 countries, and you just learned that." And I thought, yeah, that's right. So all these things throughout my years that people would ask me, "How come you were good at this?" or how come you like doing that?" And somehow it all either comes back to the great, decent lessons my parents taught me, or the wonderful things I learned at St. Andrews, you know? And it occurred to me that St. Andrews really isn't just a school. It's a concept, and it's a tribe. We're part of a clan here. And that's why we have the clan system at St. Andrews. Because we're family, all of us. Even if you don't take a class here, and you're an administrator, or you're a teacher, or you're a parent, we're all part of that clan. There's genius in this. It's fantastic. And when you leave here, you only leave the class structure behind. But you don't really leave St. Andrews. This is home. And you can come back anytime you like. You can come to homecoming. You can come to St. Andrews in your own way, on your own time. But it's your home. You deserve to be here. You're entitled to be here. And people want to see you. And when I was in Afghanistan, I emailed the school and I said, could I have a coffee mug, or I want to buy the following things from the school shop. And Joanne Stock, who became my rear party quartermaster back here in Canada, gave me everything that NATO couldn't. And I was, well, a camp of 2,000 soldiers from 31 different countries, and people were jealous because I had a great white St. Andrews bathrobe. And I didn't get shot by any snipers because they couldn't believe anybody was stupid enough to walk around in the camp middle of the night wearing a white shoot at me. Every light in the camp was out, guys wearing camo, and I was standing there. Oh, where are those guys? I had a coffee mug. I had cookies. People sent me cookies from St. Andrews that wound up being part of my negotiations one day in Mir Bechakat when we were out of food and I didn't have any rations, and I was talking to the wakil of a village and I said, here, these are called Andrians. It was biscotti. And so today you go to Mir Bechakat, and if you see a wall outside of a little cafe there with a whole bunch of bullet holes and a piece of wood in it, underneath that wood there was like a little Tupperware thing, and that's full of Andrians. I told them that better if you aged them a bit, so we could get out of Dodge. That worked too. The point is that this wonderful place comes into your life in so many ways, if you let it. And if you don't, what a waste. You've just spent so much time here. And this is your home. This is your family, along with your other family. So come on back. Parents, come back. Come and see us. I say us because I don't work here, but I'm here. I work downtown, live downtown Toronto, but this is home to me, so I say come and see us, because we're all your family. You know, my parents, they didn't send me to St. Andrews. They gave me St. Andrews. They gave me so many wonderful things. I miss them very much. And one of the finest things they ever gave me in my life was St. Andrews College. It was brilliant. And it keeps giving to me. So I keep giving back to St. Andrews, because then it allows you to come here and graduate from here and go and do your thing in the world and give to the world the way St. Andrews taught you, the way people who came before you taught you, and the way people built this place taught you. I'm going to end in just a minute. And I want to read 3 things to you. On Andrian leadership. Think about these words, please. Indeed, the influence of the upper school on the lower must always be great, even if the youngsters are only allowed to look on. Therefore, set a pace worthwhile, you older boys, since the hope of the future must always rest in the generation coming up. On learning. You are at school not merely to learn of books, to go from form to form, class to class, and finally to matriculate. You are here not only to play football or whatever game it may be. These things are very grand in themselves, but if you are wise, you will regard them as but a means to a greater end. And finally, on character. In the last analysis, your success or failure in life, the position of worth which you may occupy in the world, your possession of happiness, your power of service and achievement will depend upon the quality of the character which you slowly develop day by day. These words were part of 3 sermons given by Reverend D. Bruce MacDonald in our chapel in the 1930s. And I couldn't do anything better than to leave you with our first headmaster's words. Thank you.